Okay, so how's everybody doing? It's been a little while since we knocked out one of these blogs. Let me get myself centered up here. Okay, here we go. That's a little better. First off, let's start things off by saying, wow, what a Monday Night Football game. San Diego up 17-0, and now I'm doing this with 4:45 left in the fourth quarter, and Denver's up by 4. I mean, it's incredible. You just don't see this sort of thing when a team's got a lead quite that big. But again, Peyton Manning, Monday Night Football, you kind of get the picture. Carolina Panthers had the week off, did not play due to the bye week. What do they do coming out of the bye week? That is the big question right now. Will the Panthers respond to the time they had off, and how will they respond? Will they come out with a solid effort against the very beatable Dallas Cowboys team? Tony Romo has been throwing interceptions at a great rate, although he played pretty well yesterday. Or on Sunday, I should say, and Baltimore hung on. Baltimore really hung on. But, the loss had not really, the Cowboys' loss to the Ravens had more to do with coaching, I thought. Jason Garrett, poor clock management at the end after his team recovered that onside kick. And, you got to do a better job in that spot. Point blank, you just got to be better. Panthers with the week off I would expect them to come out a little bit more focused and maybe have a bit of a rallying cry. If they've got Ryan Khalil's back, now's the time to show it, because Khalil's out for the season after suffering basically a broken foot. Excuse me. And so they've got things they've got some things to do. Jeff Hangartner looks to be the starting center in Khalil's absence. So they'll have to make do without their Pro Bowl center. I would expect Carolina to come out with an inspired effort, offensively, defensively, special teams. This is a proud football team, and if you really look at the losses that they've suffered in the last 2 weeks. They lost to Seattle, and they had Seattle backed up on the 1-yard line. If they convert that 4th and goal from the 1, they beat the Seattle Seahawks, a team that pulled a rabbit out of a hat and beat New England yesterday. You go back the week before against Atlanta, and if they're able to make a team go 100 yards, not allow a team to go 99 yards, I should say, in the final 58 seconds or whatever it was, they win that game. So bare minimum, they're 3-3, okay, or 3-2. Excuse me, 3-2. I think the loss to the Buccaneers, everybody, I think the whole team played poorly. The loss to the Giants are just that good, and Carolina played poorly. But they got the win against New Orleans. They should have won. They should have beaten Atlanta, and they should have beaten Seattle. So, but that's woulda, coulda, shoulda. They don't count up maybes. They count up wins and losses. And as a result, the Panthers have got a big hole to dig out of. If they're going to have any chance of a successful season, and for them, a successful season was supposed to be at least the playoffs at the very bare minimum. Can they get there? That's going to be tough, because there's a lot of teams that are ahead of them. Way ahead of them, but they've got to chop that wood 1 week at a time. So Dallas is the first step in that 11-game stretch, and if they can beat the Cowboys, this team just desperately needs a victory, no matter how you slice it. They just need a win, and if Dallas happens to be the team they beat, and so be it. They've got to get right. They've got to get to feeling good about themselves again, and it starts this week against the Cowboys. NASCAR, wow. I thought it was a pretty good race Saturday night. I know a lot of fans may not have liked it because of the element of the non-crash. It was, from a racing standpoint and a strategy standpoint, while many consider that boring, the thinking man's part of NASCAR really coming into effect, especially at Charlotte, because of the fuel mileage and everything else. And Clint Boyer barely had enough to finish. He basically went around the track on the cool-down lap, smoked the tires, did his victory burnout, and was out of gas. So that's all he had. He had 1.5 miles and change to get at the end of that race. Brad Keselowski's lead shrinks from 14 to 7. I think he's still in pretty good position, although Denny Hamlin closed the gap to 15 now. And the series is off to Kansas this week, another 1.5 miles, and that's a track that really can be a difference maker, I think, for some teams. But you still have Martinsville ahead. You still have Phoenix and Texas, and then Homestead. So there's still a lot of races, a lot of miles left in this season. Before Charlotte, I thought it was pretty much Keselowski to win it. It was his to lose. Other teams can now win it. Other teams can now, have strong weeks and beat the Blue Deuce. The 48, you never count them out. I think Denny Hamlin is, he's got to feel pretty good about his position. And even though Clint Boyer's 20 plus back, he's another guy you can't really write off. You just can't write him off just yet. MWR's got a good thing going this season, and Boyer's really benefiting. And really talking to him afterwards on Saturday night, really, really a happy driver. And just think, he left a pretty stable organization in Richard Childress to go over to Waltrip and drive those cars. And there are a lot of questions. Jury was kind of out on MWR, and I think those questions have been answered. And incidentally, Rodney Childress tweeting today, Monday, that he's re-signed to stay at MWR, and he'll be with the 55 team next year as well. So that's also good news. Continuity, always a good thing, especially in NASCAR. ACC basketball preseason coaches poll announced on Monday. NC State number 1, followed by Duke and Carolina. Hasn't been that way in my entire time I've lived in North Carolina, and I got here in '95. NC State has never been picked to win the conference by the media and by the coaches ever. They've never been, and now Phillip Rivers has just thrown a pick 6. Wow, this is sports as it happens, folks. Denver is now up. They're going to go up 35-24. What a bad night for Phillip Rivers. Anyway, let's go back to basketball. NC State picked to finish first in the league. A lot of it is due to their big run in the NCAA tournament. I get that. Is NC State ready for prime time? That's the big question. As I mentioned, I've been here since '95, and it seems like whenever NC State has been able to take that step, and you may have heard me talk about this before, or you may have read it before, whenever NC State has a chance to take that next step, to move up just one more notch, a big game, whether it's football, basketball, they fall short. This year, they're wearing the bullseye, and uneasy is the head that wears the crown. It's just the nature of the beast. But I look at this NC State team with Mark Gottfried at the helm and coaches like Bobby Lutz and Rob Moxley as assistants. I know Lutz and Moxley from their times at Charlotte. They're tireless. Those guys just do not stop. They've got total motors that are constantly coaching and teaching. If this NC State team absorbs that, they will be very good. I think they're going to be very good as it is, but they can be a team that can threaten a Final Four. They really can. They've got those guys coming back. They've got great leadership. They've got a good blend of youth. And I think with expectation comes excitement and also comes anxiety. But I think with that excitement, I think you'll see this NC State club really respond to it and kind of cherish it, wrap their arms around it, and have a chip on their shoulder. And they should. That's the only way you win in the ACC in basketball. You got to go in knowing that you're going to somebody else's gym, and you're still going to win the game. It doesn't matter, and you basically tell that to the other team. You got to have. I hate the word swagger, but you have to have it. You got to have the moxie to go into anybody's barn and win a game. So I think NC State's got that, but I'm not writing off Duke. I'm not writing off Carolina. Strange things happen in this league, and even though you're the preseason pick to finish first and to win it all, that doesn't mean you're going to land a plane. You got to go out there and do it. And NC State knows that, but now they wear the bullseye, and so Duke is coming after them. Carolina's coming after them. Everybody's coming after them, so they've got to be ready. What else did I want to touch on? I knew there were a couple other things that I wanted to talk about. We did NASCAR, we did the Panthers and the NFL, and we did the Bobcats, Charlotte Bobcats, playing Oklahoma City. 1-2 so far in the preseason. If you're one of those folks out there that has zero expectations for this team, join the club. A lot of folks have zero expectations for the Panthers, or for the Bobcats rather. For that, a lot of folks say you're going to go out and play your schedule. You're going to miss the playoffs. It's a rebuilding year, and to a certain degree that is true. But I think there's also to a degree that this team may have a chip on their shoulder. They may not have the moxie to back it up, but they're going to go into a lot of games, and they're going to play their guts out, and they're going to do what they can to win games. Now, they may not. I think more often than not, they're going to come up short. It's a new team. It's a new head coach, and that is truly a rebuilding process. But the one thing I would expect from this Bobcats team coming into this year is the signature of all Bobcats teams, and that's hard work. Very rarely did you see teams, slough off and not play hard. This is a Bobcats team that's going to have to play hard. They're not completely gifted offensively. They're not completely gifted defensively. They're not blessed with great all-star players. They've got good players, and with good players and hard work, you have an opportunity to get results. and I think they will get some results. They'll certainly get more than 7 wins. I think that's a given. And I think as it played out over an 82-game schedule or whatever, I think they would have finished with maybe 10 if they'd had the additional, the make up the difference between a full regular season and last year's lockout shortened season of 66 games. So, I mean, I think this is a team that I'm not putting a whole lot of faith in as far as winning a title. In fact, making the playoffs will be a stretch, but I think they'll be a far sight more competitive than they were a year ago. Lastly, what else we got? You know what? You tell me. Send me an email. Let me know what you want to hear, what you want to chat about in the blog, or in the video blog, I should say, and we'll do it. I mean, you got thoughts on anything? ACC football? I mean, you got Carolina and NC State playing this week, Duke and Carolina playing this week at 5-2. NC State is back to work after beating Florida State. After having their bye week, Wake Forest is back after having their bye week, and they had to suspend 2 players indefinitely for violating athletic department policy. Jim Grobe's team is a team that can be good, but man, they've had disciplinary actions the last couple of weeks. First, there was a group of 5 guys that missed their game before the break, their game before the bye against who'd they play? I forget now. Hang on, I'll be right there. Hang on, I'm still here. Against Maryland, that was the one. Didn't play that, and they had the opportunity to be reinstated before the Virginia game. We'll hear from them on Tuesday, so we'll find out if they've been reinstated. And also, they had the 2 players suspended indefinitely now this past weekend during the bye week. I mean, it sends a message. The coach saying, "Look, if you're gonna be on this team, you're gonna represent this team and this university the right way." Now, I don't know what the violations were. They don't usually publicize those, but if there's a reason to be suspended indefinitely, it's probably a reason that's good enough for the coach to pull the trigger on a suspension like that. So, it's on the responsibility falls on the players. It really does. They know the rules, and you got to abide by it. It's just that simple. So anyway, going to shut this one down. Denver is in the final 2 minutes now, and they're up 35-24. Ooh, it's going to be rough in San Diego in the morning, don't you think?